Whoops. Get everyone take their seats. I'd like to call this special meeting of the Lompoc City Council to order. It is Saturday, December 20th. I'd like to remind everyone to turn off your cell phones or put them on vibrate. Let's stand and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Yes, yeah. Madam Clerk, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Vega.
Here.
Councilmember Starbuck.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Dwayne Holmdahl.
Here.
Mayor Bob Lingle.
Here. And we'll start with a brief city administrator's report.
Nothing to report, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, right on schedule. We'll move right into the meeting then. Just a reminder, first of all, I want to thank the public for being here today. I especially want to thank the candidates for being here today. Remind anyone in the public and the candidates that we want to be respectful of all the candidates. So as they speak, there will be no jeers, there will be no cheers. Let them have their say, and we will move forward then. I want to wish good luck to all the candidates. Okay, we don't have any special orders, so I'm going to start. We'll start with the order right up there. So we'll. So come to the podium, state your name, and give us your address. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Adrian Boyd, and I am one of the applicants to fill the vacant City Council position. Just to give you a little background about myself, my family moved here in 1963 when my father was stationed in Vandenberg Air Force Base. When he retired, they decided to stay in the area, and they purchased a house in Vandenberg Village, and I went to school in village schools and graduated from Cabrillo High School. In 1976, I decided to enlist in the United States Army, and after serving 3 years, stationed mainly overseas, I came back to Lompoc for a short time and then decided I wanted to marry a service member who also had orders to go to Germany, so I found myself back overseas. Around 1982, I decided to come back to Lompoc, and I've been here ever since. I stayed with my parents for a few years, and then in 1986, I moved into the city of Lompoc. In 1984, just to give you a little further background about myself, in 1984, I was hired by the city of Lompoc. Originally worked in what we called power and water. It was a combination of the electric and water divisions. I also worked in wastewater, later solely for the water division. Also Parks and Recreation, and I'm currently working in the purchasing department. During my tenure with the City of Lompoc, I have been mainly involved not only in various departments, but also in city union activities. That's been the primary extent of my experience. Have serving as a steward and as a chief steward for many years. Having devoted most of my life to city, just city business, but public service in general, I feel that gives me a very unique and experiences to fill the seat on the council. One of my main goals, even is working, like I say, with my employee activities and with my union activities, is to be able to be that voice for people who may not otherwise have a voice, and that's very important to me. I'm impartial, I'm always ethical, and I think I will bring something beneficial not only to the City Council, but also to the citizens of Lompoc. I've consistently displayed a desire to do the right thing, and that's very difficult sometimes to find that right thing and to make that decision that would benefit the most people. You can't please everybody all the time, but at least if you please most of the people most of the time, I think that's a good mark. I'm not afraid to tackle the hard issues. Like I say, part of my I keep bringing up my union activities because that's been the extent of many of my experiences over the last 30 years, but sometimes there are very tough issues and they deal very closely with the heart of people. I ask the council to favorably consider my appointment to fill the vacancy, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Ms. Boyd. And just a reminder to the public, we on the council have received in advance an application from each of the candidates and their resume. So we have a pretty good background as to where they stand in the community, what they've done in their professional careers. So right now, we're just getting a little additional information for both the public and for us. Okay, Mr. Campo.
Well, good morning, Mayor and City Council. Seems like we just did this a few times about a month ago. So I've lived and worked in the Lompoc Valley for the last 20 years. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army. I have over 20 years in law enforcement, so public safety is one of my priorities. Additionally, I'm one of the public safety commissioners for the city of Lompoc. I spent 5 years in education, so working with our youth is another one of my top priorities. Currently, I work for the state of California in economic development and vitality. I work with local employers on the coast, assisting them with filling vacancies. I am very much in tune with what local businesses are looking for. I'm proud to have nominated 3 local Lompoc businesses for statewide recognition, 2 of those receiving that recognition. I'm very much involved in the local community. I'm a member of the Elks Lodge 2274 and serve as the Government Relations Chairman, as well as serve on the Americanism Committee. I'm the unit commissioner for both the Boy Scout Troop 2274 at the Elks, as well as La Prisma Catholic Church Troop 64. I also serve as a board member on the Live Oak District for the Boy Scouts of America. I'm a member of the Lompoc Chamber of Commerce, and I also serve as a board member on the Military Affairs Committee. I'm actively involved in economic development for the North County of Santa Barbara, and I am a member of the Economic Alliance of Northern Santa Barbara County, as well as the Committee to Improve Northern County. Not only am I involved in economic development, but I'm also involved in 2 other areas that affect our community, that's homelessness and poverty. I belong to a group called the Central Coast Collaborative on Homelessness, as well as a new group that started through the Santa Barbara Food Bank, which is the Lompoc Impact Group. For the past several years, Lompoc has had the highest unemployment rate in the county. I have successfully organized 4 successful job fairs and I'm planning the 5th one for this spring at the Dewey Center. Recently, I was asked to join the board of directors for the Valley Haven Adult Day Program. In addition to my community involvement, I belong to several veterans organizations. I'm the commander of the Disabled American Veterans of Lompoc. For 5 years, I served as the commander of the American Legion in Santa Maria. For 2 years, I served as the American Legion Riders chapter president here in Lompoc, and I successfully hosted a statewide convention which brought revenue into the city. Currently, I'm the chairman for the County of Santa Barbara Veteran Services Advisory Committee, representing the 4th Supervisory District, which is Lompoc and Orchid. I'm also the co-founder of the Central Coast Veterans Collaborative. In 2013, I was proud to nominate the City of Lompoc for a prestigious award for the state of California, which won, and that award is in the mayor's office. And that award went on, the city's nomination went on to the national level, and the city garnered honorable mention, which is basically 2nd place out of 55 different states and territories. I've received several numerous awards and recognitions for my work at the local, state, and national level. And most recently, I've crafted legislation at the federal level to speak of, what's in the paper today yesterday was the renaming of the post office. I crafted that legislation, as well as legislation to allow paramedics and EMTs that are in the military to transition to civilian service and get their accreditation without going through additional training. If selected for the open position, I will bring a point of view to the council. I do not own any property or business. Therefore, I should not have to abstain from any decisions that need to be made. I bring solutions to resolutions for critical issues. My service and leadership in nonprofit organizations have given me the opportunity to seek funding and assistance through grants offered by other organizations. As one of the public safety commissioners, I've worked with Chief Latapau to look for additional funding for our firefighters. My military law enforcement training have given me the opportunity to think outside the box. This is one trait that several organizations have found in me and have asked me to join their organizations. I'm currently working with an employer to relocate their business from Santa Maria to Lompoc. This business will go into a vacant building which has been vacant for several years. Not only will he move his business to Lompoc, he will increase his employees. He will also open up an additional business for something that's not found around here between Ventura to San Luis Obispo. In addition to that, he's offering a recreational service that will be a great boom to the economy and will also have the possibility to host regional, state, and nationwide competitions. We need additional recreation sources for our citizens. With Lompoc having a large number of parks, I would like to see one of our parks turn into a arboretum where you have little trees and little mazes out there. But at one time the city was a tree city. We've lost that designation. I'd like to see that designation come back. I would also like to see Lompoc be an all-American city. Being an all-American city will increase additional grants tourism, business relocating to the area. And lastly, on the Cal-Ed edition of this year's magazine, there's something from Santa Barbara and there's something from Santa Maria. There's nothing for Lompoc. With a 40-acre industrial business, how are we going to get that word out unless we put it out there? So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. And next we have Mr. Chidoba.
Thank you very much, council members. Congratulations to Mr. Vega and Mr. Starbucks on a great campaign and for winning the elections and the seats. My name is Steve Chidoba. I'm an ordinary citizen. I'm an ordinary guy. I'm 34. I'm the youngest of the candidates who are running. What just makes me valuable is just the will of a young person to come out and to actually run for city council, to run for any kind of office. You're going to hear a lot from the other candidates, something that I do not have, but they do, which is my strength. I don't have a lot of experience. So what that makes me for having a lot of strength is that I'm not biased on anything. I don't have anybody to influence me. I don't have anyone to actually please yet. All I'm doing is just running for city council to show younger generations, like my students that I substitute for, who keep asking me constantly, even a month and a half after the elections, did you win? I tell them no. They said, are you going to run again? I says, probably I'll run for one more time to see it happen. So they're excited for me, and they're excited to see a young person, even a teacher that they see every day saying, hey, you know what, you ran for city council. That's kind of cool. I still get people in the shopping centers, Fuco, Vaughn's, always coming up to me and saying, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of seeing you actually run for city council. Never see a young person ever do that before. And I say, yeah, I do something outside my box. I do something outside my comfort zone. I would never think in my whole life I would actually run for city council or even for a seat. And a lot of young people don't think that. And as we can see from previous elections throughout United States history, young people don't come out and vote. I did. I have been voting since I was 18. I think I encourage my kids, go and vote, do the best you can, try to change the system. But at the same time, when you're trying to change the system, do what makes you happy. Running for a campaign was probably one of the most exciting things I've ever done in my life. Coming from a person who barely earns enough to live off of for being on a teacher salary for me and my wife, paying my own campaign, people are saying, for every dollar you spend on a campaign, you're going to get one vote. Some people spend $2,000, $3,000. I spent less than $70 of my own money. I got like 750 votes, which is not too bad for someone just starting, someone who's just living in the community. But I devoted my life to my students. I've been a teacher since I was 18. I've been learning how to be an educator. I tell my kids, you want to go to college, be happy. Just do whatever you want to be happy. I went to college. I paid for my own way to go get my 2 college degrees. My parents couldn't help me because my dad was never in my life. My mom lives in a 1-bedroom retirement home since I was 15. I'm basically what you would call as a self-proclaimed person. I've worked for everything I have done. I earned every paycheck I have earned since I was 18. I'm a substitute teacher trying to get back into the educational field and to become a teacher of history and government and economics for my kids. In the last year and a half, I have inspired my kids, younger generation, people around Lompoc for seeing someone young go and running on the city council, telling my students to do what they want to do, military, school. And it's a great feeling for me because that's what the purpose of my life is devoted to helping others. Just like my mom, she devoted her life of helping others, and she continues at the age of 70 to do that. And I've learned that from her. And working on this, being a city council member is just, it's one of the most honorable things you can do for a city. I'm a teacher. I influence the younger generation. And being on a city council, I like to help out everybody else. And that's why I ran for what I did as a campaign, to be a voice for the people, to be a voice for everybody, to be a voice for those who don't have a voice, those who are afraid to have one. Just like me, I was afraid at one time. 18-year-olds to 35-year-olds are afraid to say anything because they haven't developed that skills yet. and then that's why they don't come out and vote. So I would just think it'd be a huge honor just to run. It'd be a huge honor just to be elected. I see on the city council that you guys are looking for someone who represents the city. And I see different generations here. But the one generation I do not see is my generation. I don't see 18 to 35-year-olds sitting on the city council. I would like to see that. I would like to see myself being on there so I can inspire other people to be like, hey, Mr. Chidoba can do it. Maybe we could run too. Maybe I can get elected of other students who have lived here in Lompoc longer than I have. And I'd like to thank you very much. Time's up.
Thank you, Mr. Chidoba. Next, we have Robert Cuthbert.
Well, Honorable Mayor and City Council members, most of you know, all three of you know me personally from numerous debates and times running Mr. Vega I'm acquainted with now. So you pretty much know where I'm coming from on a wide range of issues. I'd briefly like to go over, I spent a solid decade on the Public Safety Commission, and there it was a great learning experience. I was engaged with government. Also, I've been at this speaking here before on a number of issues, and I think you'll find that I've always had a reasoned argument. I've never been argumentative. I've set out my points. I graduated about 10 years ago from California Polytechnic University with a Bachelor of Science degree in complex organizations, and the city of Lompoc is, in fact, a complex organization. I graduated magna cum laude, and that learning experience in midlife was a great thing because I didn't have a whole lot to do but study and work, and I paid quite a bit of attention. Before that, I got a degree in Spanish from Allen Hancock, which was like also a modern language course now includes cultural education. Before that, as a young man, I worked and I was a paid organizer for Cesar Chavez. That's been in the paper during 2 of his birthdays in the past, and I spoke at local schools about my personal experience with somebody who became an icon. From that time on, in various ways, I've been involved in the community in Los Angeles more than 24 years ago before I came to Lompoc. So I've got a lot of experience with the community. Also, in the last 10 years, my cell runs for City Council. I've been endorsed several times by the firefighters, and I believe almost every time by the city workers. And so I've been vetted by groups that really represent this community. They work for the community, and they're a strong part of it. But speaking to the issue of what an appointee is and what the responsibilities are, it's different than being elected. When you're elected, you come in with a mandate. You have a strong constituency. An appointee really needs to understand that he or she is representing the whole of the community. And that would be my intent on City Council, is not to be a deal maker, to seek consensus, to go out into the community as I have done in the past and represent their opinions. And to build bridges, and not to be flamboyant or rock the boat, or in any way really do anything but develop a consensus on City Council, to study the issues and really understand what's really important to the community, and not necessarily come with an agenda of my own, because I couldn't, because this is like a job application. I'm applying for a job to sit in that seat to represent the entire community and all of their interests. And really, when I say develop consensus, I mean that. That's real important. You've heard me in the debates, and I think I have a reasoned understanding of how government works. I know the Brown Act and what that means, and how we at City Council need to work find that truth that is out there on every single issue. It'd be my intent to approach it like a job, to study every issue. When I get that big binder, to go through that, understand what's there, ask the right questions, bring in the public. I want to build bridges. I want to make government more legitimate by involving more people. And Also, in my volunteer work, I worked with the homeless, the Mark's House. I actually stopped working for Stu Ehrlich over ethical issues. We brought that up here years ago in prior councils. I am a peacetime veteran of the United States Army, and I want this job. I want to build a better community. I want to serve the community that I've lived in for the last 24 years. So please consider Robert Cuthbert. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Cuthbert. Next, we have Mr. Fedrosa. Thank you.
Good morning, Lompoc City Council, Mr. Mayor, visitors in the audience, and the TAP TV viewers all around Lompoc. My name is John Fregosa, and I'm running for the vacant City Council seat for the City of Lompoc. My goal here today is to let you know who John Fregosa just is. I'm a college graduate with a bachelor's degree in business administration and marketing from Cal Poly State University and an associate's degree in economics from Santa Barbara City College. I'm currently employed as an advertising salesman for a local Lompoc company. I also have experience in sales, marketing, customer service, and software technical support. Now, while a lot of people don't know who I am a new face in Lompoc politics. I want each and every one of you to know that I am the only group that I represent is all of the citizens in Lompoc. My primary goal is to make Lompoc a better place for all of us. My wife and Olga and I bought a home here 18 years ago when we relocated from Santa Barbara, and we marveled on what a great community this is. Our citizens have convenient access to world-class medical care, great public schools, exciting high school sports, well-maintained parks, Allen Hancock College, and year-round cultural events. There are many outstanding community service groups with members that donate generously of their time and talents to help others. Our police, fire department, and public safety and city staff are always there when needed. All of these groups need our support so they can continue the task of improving our quality of life. All of these services need our support, the support of the citizens of Lompoc. My mission as a city councilman is to bring hope and change to our great city. There is hope when people have good paying jobs. There is hope when our children get a good education and go to college and build a great career in their hometown. There is hope when we have support services to help our youth and our senior citizens. There is hope when a family can earn enough money to pay for medical care and not be kept awake at night worrying if they have enough money left over at the end of each month to make their medical co-payments. There is hope when there are no more budget cuts to our public schools. There is hope when we have funds in the city budget to pay for essential public safety services. And there is hope when the community service groups get the help that they need to support the others that need their help. There is hope, and to make hope a reality, there needs to be change. Previous council members and mayors have helped increase the number and sizes of retail stores, relocated manufacturing companies, and launched a citywide wireless internet service, and encouraged the launch of a commuter airline, a wine industry, and a new car dealership. This is positive change, the kind of change that we need in this city, and it's increased the number of local jobs. All of that is a good place to start, but real change for the good of the community needs a vision. My vision is to work with the Economic and Community Development Department of Lompoc to conduct marketing research that reveals what will put Lompoc on the road to sustained economic growth with better paying jobs, increased opportunities for our tourism and wine industries, expanded use and development of our beaches as a recreational and commercial resource to be enjoyed by all, expansion of our city bus service with more frequent service, intercity bus service from Lompoc to cities outside the Lompoc Valley, development of our commuter airline service from a propeller-based aircraft to a fleet of jets serviced by multiple air carriers. Allen Hancock should be encouraged to expand their course offerings to reduce the need for students to commute out of town to complete their junior college education. A certification program could be developed to help students get the job skills they need for the high-tech manufacturing companies that relocate to our state-of-the-art industrial park. We can reduce the small business failure rate that we have. I've seen restaurants, you go up and down the street on Ocean and you see a big churn rate of a lot of businesses come and go. We need to help those entrepreneurs. We need to give them assistance. We need to bring in SCORE and other resources to say, hey, we can help you keep your business growing. That'll increase our tax revenues, and that'll increase what we can offer to the citizens of Lompoc. And by doing that, we can make sure that we have a vitality of multiple resources here. Now, these are some of the changes that I'm proposing. Working together, we can cut employment in half, with working families learn job skills so they can earn a living wage in Lompoc. This will reduce traffic on the highway and give former commuters more disposable income that they once spent on gas and car repairs. Our young people will be encouraged not to give up on Lompoc, but to stay and make a good living. Seniors will have the support services they need in their golden years. Good jobs will increase retail spending in Lompoc, and the revenue stream, when done correctly, will ensure a positive cash flow for our fair city, its employees,
Okay,
support
Mr. Fregoso,
services.
you'll need to wrap it up.
Okay. And I just want you to know that with this vision and proper planning, we can make Lompoc prosper, and together we can make history and put Lompoc on the map. I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Mr. David Grill. Mr. Grill had indicated he was unavailable for today's meeting. He did send us additional information, and actually Mr. Grill is at a worthy cause. He's working with the Marines and Toys for Tots. So we will now go to Mr. Lynn.
Mayor, council members, I think everyone in the room is familiar with my experience, so I want to talk a little more instead about the process. We're here this morning as a result of a very tainted election process. The tainted process began with an anonymous complaint that was filed against myself and 2 council members over alleged Brown Act violations. The politically motivated complaint was then covered by the local media as though it were the truth. And as the lie was repeated over and over, it became the truth rather than just an accusation. Gone was our American tenet of innocence until proven guilty. In July, the city attorney responded to the district attorney's letter. I provided documents and answers to the district attorney's questions. And on such a simple question, we really assumed that an answer would be forthcoming. A decision would be made based on the evidence. That really wasn't the case. And following the advice of the city attorney and my personal counsel, we couldn't comment on it, any of us. So the lie was told over and over, and to some people it became the truth. Then the election was over, and amazingly, 12 days later, a letter came in, and the DA said that there was no violation found, but admonished us not to have circular meetings, although the DA hadn't found the circular meetings. But that wasn't reported in the local media either, so the lie is still kind of hanging around. So today, the tainted election and its results are tainting this meeting too. Today, a well-orchestrated effort by the same individuals that tainted the election is trying to influence your decision. They're trying to taint your vote by threatening some of you with immediate recall if you don't do what they want and vote for their candidate. One city union is threatening you if you don't support the candidate by taking you out in the next election. But remember, you don't work for the union. There's a well-orchestrated deluge of phone calls and visits and the like from the same people. The truth to remember, instead of this tainted process, is to focus on what people elected you for, and that was for growth and jobs in Lompoc. Each of you council members was elected by the people of Lompoc because you stood for growth and progress. In the November election, residents selected you two council members, Councilmember Starbuck and Councilmember Vega, not the other candidates. Those candidates did not represent the voters' vision for Lompoc. I believe today you are obligated to honor those votes and select a candidate that has shown the same level of commitment to the community as you have, by what they have done, not by what they have said. Let me repeat that. The same commitment to the community that you have, not by what they have said, but by what they have done. And it may not be me. You know, I may not be that perfect candidate. That decision is up to y'all. Do not be deterred by the tainted election process, because the voters will one day all know the truth, and the ones that were deceived will be furious. In my time as your mayor, I put a lot of hours in, and we had a lot of results. Going forward, that will be on you to carry forward. As you make your selection, think only of the good of Lompoc and serving the residents that voted for progress, and not the servants of the South County interests that tainted the election and are trying to taint this process. Vote for the good of Lompoc. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. Next, we have Mr. Martinez.
Hello, City Council, Mayor, people of the audience. My name is Chris Martinez. Most of you guys don't know me because I just recently bought a house in Lompoc. I've lived in Oxnard pretty much for most of my life and Santa Barbara. The reason why I moved to Lompoc is I love what Lompoc is, and I know what Lompoc can become. Living in Oxnard is a great place, bigger than Lompoc, but there's more crime in Oxnard. And purchasing a home out there was feasible, but I wanted to move to a safer city, and Lompoc was the place. I work out of Santa Barbara, California, so I do the commute like most people in Lompoc do at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And something that I know Lompoc can do is grow jobs, so a lot of people don't have to use that one, because the one isn't the safest drive in the world. So we can get less people on the one, maybe it'll be less injuries on the one. But just to let you guys a little bit about me, I'm also one of the youngest candidates, 34. Graduate of UCSB, did the ROTC program. I am in the U.S. Army Reserve. I have 10 years in. I still have another, hopefully 20, maybe 10 if they kick me out. My unit's out of Port Hueneme, California, so I have to do the 2-hour drive once a month. And we're a medical unit, and something about myself is I'm one of the leaders of that unit. So what we do is we do humanitarian missions. We did some in Nebraska, Missouri, and I work with the city council, the mayor, House representatives, and I have letters of appreciation thanking me for what our unit's done and what they want us to do when they come back. Running for, or excuse me, being appointed would be a great honor. I think I can bring a lot of things other people can't. I was working with the youth probation. I was a probation juvenile institution officer working at Los Prietos Boy Camp. So I kind of know what, or have idea what the youth, the troubled youth want to stay out of trouble is either places to go in recreational areas or places they can apply for and get jobs. I think I'm a big inspiration for them because I was once a youth just like them, And I asked them, just because you get in trouble doesn't mean you can't reach for the stars. If I can do it, everyone can do it. Also, I work now as Santa Barbara College Hospital. I'm going to nursing school. I hopefully become a nurse and hopefully transfer back to Lompoc Hospital once I do finish my nursing program. Another thing about me is that since I'm fairly new here, I think I have the biggest open mind and biggest non-partial or non-biased viewpoint of the group. I think I see things for what they are and try to make the best point and the best case for whatever that might be. I did receive a bachelor's in sociology, which is pretty much study for the people. I worked for the U.S. Census Bureau, doing enumerating, going house to house, talking to people. A vast variety of doing stuff for the people, and I hope to be appointed by the city, the mayor, and the city council, just as a fresh start, because as one of my colleagues said before, if I look across the panel, there's no one really in my age group. And if I can inspire some of these kids to not do the wrong thing and do the right thing, I think seeing a young person in the council will help a lot of young people that are either in trouble or want to reach for the stars, but don't see the stars in their sight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Next, we have Mr. Mosby.
Honorable Council, I thank you for the privilege to come before you. As I mentioned in my bio, I am a Lompoc native. I have the unique opportunity over the past 50 years to experience many of the positive attributes of our valley. As a hobby, I've taken it upon myself to study the complex history that has made our community thrive in some years and bring us to a crawl in others. Lompoc has seen the boom and bust of the mole project of the late 60s and early 70s, and after a decade of slow recovery, we once again felt the boom and our bust of our economy. But this time, the bust was caused by the space shuttle disaster of the late 80s. In the past 2 decades, Lompoc has once again been riding the economic roller coaster of ups and downs. We currently find ourselves trying to rebrand Lompoc from when we were once known as the Valley of the Flowers and being the flower seed capital of the world. Fortunately, Lompoc has in recent years been able to initiate a rebranding with the establishment of many new recreational opportunities. We have one of the nicest pools on the West Coast, a new bicycle park that will soon be opening, and a motorsports complex that will soon be coming to Lompoc, as well as many other excellent recreational facilities and opportunities. The city of Lompoc, with its true Mediterranean climate and a positive permitting process, has been able to attract many fine wineries, thus bringing another positive venue to attract tourism and jobs to our valley. The future of Lompoc seems excellent. However, I would like to share with you a quote from the 13-15 budget. Budget uncertainties. While Lompoc is pleased to have had an increase in sales tax revenue, property tax and transient occupant tax have not experienced the same level of growth in the last budget cycle, and overall the economy is on a slow growth trend. We enter the 13-15 budget period challenged with CalPERS retirement and healthcare cost increases, impacts of Affordable Care Act of 2014, restraining the city's flexibility in utilizing part-time and contract staffing, increased workers' compensation costs, increased liability and property insurance costs, the state elimination of Lompoc's RDA, which has caused a $240,000 reallocation increase to the general fund for staffing due to loss of the RDA tax allocations, and increasing levels of unfunded state mandates, such as the Stormwater Management Program. This paragraph, along with other statements and encumbrances in this document, is why I have decided to come before the council and ask for an appointment to the 5th seat. I have a unique skill set that I believe would be valuable to the council in the city of Lompoc. While I've only been a city utility commissioner for 2 years, I have been highly engaged and have learned a lot from the city staff with respect to the operation of these enterprises. I have also been a chair of the Lompoc Valley Parks Recreation and Pool Foundation for the past 4 years. While in this position, I have worked with another section of the city staff, and I've signed 5 MOUs and a temporary right of entry to enhance the recreational opportunities for our community. During the past 2 years, I have also been the County Parks Commissioner for the 4th District. I've taken my appointment seriously over the past 4 years, and I have made it a point to attend every council meeting except for one. And during this interim, I have stayed to the bitter end. Many times I've been the only person in the audience out here watching you guys perform. If appointed, I will be able to engage in the responsibilities of a council member from the day one. I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Mosby. Next, we have Ms. Osborne.
Mayor, council members, citizens of Lompoc, my name is Janelle Osborne, and I thank you for taking the time today to listen to my answers to your 3 questions about wanting to be an appointee. You asked, why do I want to serve? National and state governments are unfortunately bogged down in partisan issues and an inability to build consensus. Conversely, local city governments have shown the ability to transform themselves, affecting change and progress quickly. The Lompoc City Council has moved in this direction by selecting excellent leaders for the city, fire, and police administrations, as well as updating its general plan. I want to serve Lompoc so that I can help lead it through the next chapter of improvements for an even more effective and transparent City Hall. Even though many issues such as unemployment and homelessness are difficult to solve, that does not absolve us from the responsibility as a society to do what we can to improve conditions for all of our citizens. I believe local government can reshape our economy from the bottom up through grassroots collaboration and innovation and truly be a government by the people, for the people. You asked, what will I bring to council? For the past 3 years, I have been a resident-at-large appointee to the Economic Development Committee. During this time, I have worked with many of the other city committees and commissions, various city departments and staff, and local community members to move several projects forward successfully. To better understand our community, I participated in Leadership Lompoc Valley and learned a great deal about Lompoc, from the updates made at our water treatment plant and the outstanding students at Lompoc High participating in academy programs focusing on science, business, and healthcare, to how a launch is coordinated at Vandenberg, as well as sharing the amazing Hancock Public Safety Training Complex with my classmates, all culminating in a class fundraiser for the public library's literacy program here in Lompoc. Exploring Lompoc only strengthened my confidence in what Lompoc can achieve. There is no political party or single issue that drives my passion for Lompoc, but rather the overall success of the community and its members. With an academic training as a historical researcher, I seek out as much information as possible before making a difficult decision, because without understanding the past, we cannot build a better future. As an event planner, I must understand the big picture and then work backwards through the details that are needed to accomplish the goal. As a professional organizer, I teach clients to streamline record keeping, track projects, manage their time, and must do so in a flexible and personalized manner to ensure their success. While I respect Lompoc's pioneering heritage, I also acknowledge its missteps and past singular economic focus and our ability to be our own worst enemy. My husband and I chose Lompoc and decided to make a life here as we saw a wonderful community full of potential, and still do 15 years later. I want to help shape Lompoc into a vibrant city with live music and art, unique locally owned stores to shop in, with interesting places to dine. I want to empower those that are tackling local issues such as job creation, literacy, veterans' needs, and poverty with smart and focused city planning in order to realize that vibrant city. As a resident, I have high expectations of myself and this community to address these and many other issues head on. That is what I bring to City Council. And finally, you asked, why do I believe I am the best choice? I am dedicated to instilling pride in our community. Lompoc will benefit as I put my full energy and determination into communicating what is happening and why it is necessary, all while listening wholly to all concerns, suggestions, and opinions. I will tirelessly research the issues, strive to reach consensus, and work to produce intelligent strategies for solving local matters. I am well aware that I did not participate as a candidate in the most recent election, and I understand it will not make everyone happy if I am appointed, nor should it. Regardless, if appointed, I will bring representation across generational, gender, and technological boundaries, provide a fresh voice for all, and be a tireless promoter of Lompoc. I care deeply about our community, and the only personal agenda I have is for every resident to have the opportunity for success and happiness. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Osborne. Next, we have Ms. Rouget.
Good morning, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, and the public who are here and watching. My name's Anne Rouget, and I'm just going to, you've read everyone's resume. I turned mine in. It's a laundry list of my activities for the past 20 years in Lompoc. I'm just going to read the reasons I am here today. I've lived in Lompoc for 20 years and have served the city's government in many capacities. I served on Lompoc's Planning Commission for 6 years and the City Council for 4. I served as interim mayor for 3 months during a difficult time in our history. I was in your seat having to choose a replacement for our mayor who passed away. I was also president of the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors from 2005 to 2006. And at that time, Denny Anderson, the CEO, and I presented the community with the 2020 vision plan after conducting surveys of the many leaders in this community. We presented a plan for economic development at that time, and while serving on the council, I began the movement to make economic development one of our top priorities. I was responsible for bringing the California Economic Development Workshop to Lompoc. I currently serve on the Board of Directors of Good Samaritan Services, which assists our homeless population in many ways. I'm president for the second time of the Alpha Literary and Improvement Club, which is the oldest women's club in Lompoc, which began in 1898. I wasn't an original member, by the way. And have been president of the Lompoc Library Systems Board of Trustees for the past 3 years and am an avid supporter of our library. I ran for City Council because I like some of the positive changes that have been made, but believe more open and unbiased discussions need to occur between the public and the council members. I have no hidden agendas, no property except for our house that I own, and am answerable only to the people of Lompoc. Of those who are applying, I still think I am the most experienced and knowledgeable person to apply for this open seat. 2,075 voters in Lompoc wanted me to serve on this council, and they should not be disregarded or disenfranchised. During the past few weeks, I've been approached by many of them who want to see me serve the city in this capacity. I plan to complete the zoning ordinance, support our public safety departments, enhance the economic development efforts, support planned growth, stay fiscally responsible, and listen carefully to the people of Lompoc and act to make Lompoc a better place in which to live, work, and do business. Thank you for your time this morning on a Saturday morning right in the middle of Christmas, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rouget. Next, we have Mr. Tullis.
Good morning, Honorable Mayor, excuse me, City Council members, Lompoc. You know, I mentioned before in one of our, excuse me, forums that it's a very unique position being able to do this last, but it's also very stomach churning. You get to sit and just have to wait. And first, I'll just start out by saying the reason that I'm running. First of all, I never started out to become a politician. The first time I ever ran, and this is my third time running, so that everyone knows, I was told by my father that I should run. A lot of people know my father. And then I was also told by some of the other politicians in the community, former politicians, that I should run. And it was because that people saw something in me that I hadn't even seen, or hadn't equated to running for city council. And they saw the fact that I was willing to stand up for others, and I've always been that way. I'm 56 years old, and I could stand here and I could talk to you about a lot of different accomplishments that I've had throughout my life. But I don't want to do that. What I want to do, though, is I want to talk about the people of Lompoc and the reason I'm willing to run and the reason I'm here. The people in Lompoc need someone, need all of us to be willing to stand up and speak for them because of the fact that a lot of them work out of town. A lot of them don't have the opportunity to come to city council meetings. People in Lompoc know that I'm willing to do that. I have come before this council on several different occasions on different topics, and I have stood up on behalf of different peoples throughout our city. One thing that I want to talk about right now is a young man who was run over by a tractor out there on one of our local farms. I called out to Big E to find out how he's doing, and I want the city to know that they have reattached his arm, and he may have to have his hip replaced. I bring that up because, to me, the people of Lompoc is more important. The people as a whole are more important than I am as an individual. And I want the people of Lompoc not only to know about that young man, but I want us to collectively get together and, those who believe in praying, pray for him, his family, and for those people out there at that farm. When I first heard about that, I thought, I drive past there every day. So some of you know they allowed me to put my signs out there on their property. And in the fact that I drive out there every day, that became a very important thing to me. And I think in our community, those are the types of things that we as a community need to come together and make sure that we pay attention to those things. So when we stand up here and we talk about, what we want to do for the community and the fact that we want to represent all of the community, when we don't talk about the community, when we're talking about these things, then it's just a lot of words. I think about the Fabing family when they lost their son. We as a community came together, a lot of us came together and got together with that family, supported them. There are various other times that we've had not only tragedies, but we've had triumphs. We have, Cinco de Mayo programs. We have the cultural program that goes on at the Veterans Memorial Center. We all need to come together and support each other and support these different activities within our community. So when I stand up here and I talk about what I want to do for the city of Lompoc, I come back to this chamber looking to be appointed to this seat because I really believe in what I'm saying. The first time I ran, and each time that I've run, I've been very close to getting elected. The first time I ran, I got a call from Mayor DeWeese the next day, and he said, I have 3 positions that I need filled, and I'd like for you to choose one as a commissioner. And he said, don't quit running. He said, obviously you did so well. There are a lot of people in this community that want you involved. And so that's why I keep coming back, because a lot of the people in this community keep showing me that they want me involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tullis. Okay, this concludes our 5-minute discussions with the candidates. I'll bring it back to the council for any discussion among us. We're not open for questions of the candidates right now, but discussions. Anything here? Okay, well, I'd like to thank all the candidates for their 5 minutes. It did bring additional information to us, and I think now would be appropriate to give them all a round of applause. So. Okay. We're going to bring it to the public now. We invite you to come up for your 3 to 5 minutes. We're running behind schedule, so we'll go ahead of schedule. We're doing ahead of schedule, so we'll allow you for up to 5 minutes for the public.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor, councilperson. I'm not here to speak about any certain candidate. I'm here to talk about process that we've been going through for many years. I've been in Lompoc for 30 years. I served the board of directors of the chamber for many years as vice president. I'm a member of the local service committee for the last 30 years. I spent 7 years in economic development back in the 80s when we had problems with the shuttles. I've been involved. Good morning. My name is George King. Okay. Been dealing with 4-H Club with the youth. Brought international youth soccer tournaments over here to Lompoc. I've been dealing with all this voting that we've been having for a long time. Many of us have lived here. A lot of the voting's been good, bad, and ugly. But we're going through a process now where most of us who are here are tired of the process we're doing. We had a lot of people here that ran for the council, members of the council I've known for many years. They spent the time to get their friends and relatives, walk around town to raise money for the benefit of the community. They did well, very well. Not all of them won. They can only take 2 seats. We open up for 1. In the past, it was, well, we had to have another election. Our city manager says we have no money. We go to the process of applications. Why are we doing applications? We already had members running for a council seat. In the past, we've had some horse races, the Kentucky Derby. If the winner of that race was disqualified for infractions, the runner-up moves up. The same thing we had with the new thing with the Heisman Trophy. Great person won, then they had the second person. After the person was down who the winner is, they went and they brought the runner-up and introduced his background because he was the next nominee. If that Heisman Trophy person was disqualified, then the second person would get the trophy. However, we have a problem here. The mayor had 6% of the votes in the city of Lompoc. That is very nice. Very, very good. The top 3 candidates of the city had 60% of the votes. 60% for 3 people represent more than the entire half of the city of Lompoc. The thing should be, if there's an announcement that somebody has to be replaced or whatever, for whatever reason, the nominee should go back to the next person. It's not the first loser, is the most eligible from the voter's standpoint getting into that list. It has no idea who the person is. I have no idea the qualification, Democrat, Republican, or Independent. The process would be we don't have to do these meetings all the time. We don't have to go through who do you want to do, be constituents in the application process. I like this person better than this person. If there's a problem with the voting or the council proceeding, it should go to the next person in line who has been the most qualified by the voters of the people. They're the ones that voted the candidate, not the city council persons. So that should be a thing thought about when you're looking for somebody to replace somebody, to go back to the person who is the next in line. Your last 2 person could have been one of those 3. But 60% of the people won the votes. So when you have to appoint somebody, take that person who is next in line, most qualified, to fill in that seat. No matter who the person is, the next best qualified person should be in this seat. Thank you very much. Enjoy the day. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you very much. Next candidate, or next speaker, please.
Good morning. Congratulations, Mayor and City Council, on the recent election. My name is Janet Blevins. I'm a 28-year resident of the city of Lompoc. I agree with Mr. King that going forward there should be some process agreed upon and developed by the city to choose the next how to seat the vacant council member's seat in the next election when we have this kind of situation and avoid all this process. I think it would be okay to develop an ordinance and make it clear that, just as Mr. King said, the next time we don't have to go through all of this again. I appreciate all of the people who are running and who take their time to come up and present themselves and offer to do this great service. The voters of Lompoc less than 2 months ago overwhelmingly voted to elect a new mayor. While their reasons were not all the same, the vast majority want to see the new mayor and city council conduct the city's business with openness and transparency, respecting the expertise and professional responsibilities of the new city administrator, the new chief of police, and the fire chief. I hope that we all appreciate the comments made this morning by the former mayor, Mr. Lynn. His comments attribute his loss in the recent election to a vast conspiracy, of which I would guess that he would assign me to that vast conspiracy, to discredit him, resulting in a tainted election. These comments effectively discredit the thousands of voters who cast a positive vote for a new mayor. I believe that that is the best indication that we have and that we need to take to heart to make sure that this council can distance itself from the past administration. So please, please give yourselves this opportunity. We have a new mayor. We have a new city council person. We need another new city council person with no connection to the past mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Blevins. Next. Wait. Gail, some of you weren't here when we started. We want to keep this very respectful. There will be no applause, no boos, no jeers during the comments. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mayor Lingle, council members, and city staff. Excuse me. Our task today is to appoint the best person to serve the community as councilman.
Please state your name.
Beg your pardon?
Your name.
I'm sorry. My name is Carl Carrillo, resident of Lompoc for over 26 years. Once again, our task today is to appoint the best person to serve the community as councilman. It's encouraging to see so many people step up to run for the position, but it is obvious to me that there are only two candidates with the knowledge, drive, and commitment to do the job. In addition, neither of these candidates are connected to the Santa Barbara-based organization that currently controls our newspaper and attempts to keep this community a no-growth, depressed economy, ag-based community. So the first, most obvious, naturally, I think everyone agrees, is Mayor Lynn. Regrettably, now a political victim of untruths and innuendo from the last local election. People obviously don't agree with that, but it's the truth. And all that in spite of 2 terms of exemplary performance as mayor, serving the community without any consideration for his time and his family. So for that, I thank you, John Lynn.
No.
The second candidate, Mr. Mosby, a local businessman who has lived in the community for over 50 years, in addition to running multiple businesses. For the last 4 years, has chaired the local nonprofit with 6 subgroups trying to better the community. At the same time, he has served as a member of the Utility Commission and the Park Commission, diligently working to see what goes on within the city. On top of that, Mr. Mosby has sat through most of the city council meetings, which shows his commitment above and beyond the average citizen. His level of commitment to the community is far above the other candidates and absolutely makes him the best choice. Therefore, I strongly urge the council to make the right decision that is best for the community, that being to appoint Mr. Mosby to the vacated position on the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Creel. Next speaker, please.
My name's Steve Herring. I'm actually a resident of Vandenberg Village, but I'd like to say a few words about Mr. Darrell Tullis. I've known him for probably 6, almost 7 years. He and I work together on base. We share the same building, similar jobs. I've known him to be nothing but honest, very supportive as a friend, and the city council, the mayor, y'all would do well to have him on your council. He's the reason I have gotten involved in my own community of Vandenberg Village. In fact, I served with him on the Vandenberg Village Association for a year. Well, he was on there for a year. I'm still there. I can't say enough good about Mr. Darrell Tullis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Herring. Next speaker, please.
Well, Skylar, I live here in Lompoc. Got a lot of information brought forward today. I can't put too much more onto it. I've always felt that Lompoc should have representative of somebody that was actually born and raised here. The council, well, we did that with Mr. Vega, so that's kind of been accomplished. And always tell you, people with a big background of Lompoc, sometimes somebody comes in with a new idea, and the first thing you think of, well, 37 years ago they tried that and it didn't work. So, you know, has things changed or is it still a bad deal? So you had quite a group of candidates there. I do feel as the mayor, when he asked for somebody who would be up to speed, could fit right in with the program, could continue on. Of course, Mayor Lynn, our former Mayor Lynn, was the ideal candidate. But as you can see, it's quite a political deal, and sometimes we just can't put politics aside. But I think today you should put politics aside. I agree with Mr. Creel. Mr. Jim Mosby is an ideal candidate for the position. He's got an interest in government. He's got an understanding in the government. He is a college graduate. He has property both within the city and within the county, has a good rapport with farmers, business people here in Lompoc. And he's got a lot of good ideas. And if you go back and really look at his history on the utility commission, he's brought up some areas there where they can save some money and do a different process. And I would strongly support Jim Mosby as your appointee to the council. I was a little bit, take exception to Mr. King there. I can remember of 4 situations where there were vacancies on the council, and none of those 4 were picked by the 2nd or 3rd or 4th in command or in lead on the vote. I think Councilmember Starbuck's point about the weighting point system is absolutely correct. We had a lady that got elected to city council and expired. They appointed somebody that hadn't even ever ran before. When Ed Diaz got promoted at Federal Electric, left a vacancy, had just got on the council, and they appointed John Lizarraga to fill the seat. John never ran for office. Well, we had the situation of Mayor Dick Louise passing away. I would have been up if you had done what Mr. King had suggested. I would have been on the city council, but I wasn't. Mr. Durham was appointed. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the process. It's a process you used before. I don't know why people are having a problem with it now. So anyway, please appoint Jim Mosby as our new council member for the city of Lompoc for the next 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schuyler. Next speaker, please. No other speakers? Okay, we're going to close public comment, bring it back to the council. Okay, now the fun begins. We have some discussions, and then we will go ahead and... You want a break? Okay, we'll take a 10-minute break. Okay.
administrator one comment, or maybe the attorney, either way. We have one candidate who is running, is also working for the city. Can they work for the city and be on the city council at the same time?
Mr. Mayor and Mr. Holmdahl, yes, the government code precludes a person from being employed by a local governmental agency and also sitting on the governing board of that local governmental agency. So one of two things would have to happen if you happen to select an employee, and that employee would either need to immediately resign their employment prior to the administration of the oath of office, or the administration of the oath of office itself becomes the de facto resignation of the person. I believe the candidate understands that, the applicant. Thank you.
And Mr. Assistant City Attorney, there's been several questions, and it's not just today, it's been frequent, about automatically appointing the third candidate. Could you address that, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The California state law does require that if after an election there's a vacancy on the council, the council who is sitting at that time must either appoint a member for the vacant seat or call a special election to fill the vacant seat. Now, if the city attempted to adopt an ordinance or a policy to change that process, the ordinance or policy would be invalid because it would be inconsistent with that state law. The council that adopted that policy would not be able to force the hand of a future council on how to appoint a vacant seat, because state law specifically requires that there's either an appointment or a special election.
Thank you. I hope that clarifies it. You know, in the past, I've been a proponent for us having a policy, but once it's explained to me that it's not up to this council, it's up to the next council, and it is a state law. So thank you very much for that explanation. Okay, I think now the fun begins. Could we get some ballots, please?
Yes, sir. Could you clarify for your process, your intention is to vote for each member to have a certain number of votes on this first ballot?
Process is each of us will vote for two candidates. At that point, if any individual candidate receives two or more votes from the council, they will have the ability to move forward to the next round. If a single candidate, this is important, if a single candidate receives three ballots or three votes from us, that candidate, one of us on the council could at that point nominate that person. With a second, we could take a vote on that person to move forward. And the reason it's a single candidate, let's say candidate one and two candidates receive three votes. It would make it very awkward for the first person to get the nomination. That person really has an advantage. So I want further discussion at that point. So remember, if it's a single candidate receiving three votes, we can nominate that person and move forward. But at this point, we're going to take two votes. We're each going to have two votes. We're going to select two up there and either elect a candidate then, or we will move forward to the second round. Are there any questions on the council?
Just to clarify, Mr. Mayor, you're each going to cast your votes. You have a piece of paper before you with all 12 applicants' names on it. If you would both, as you said, since you're voting for two, mark two X's in the appropriate, an X apiece in the appropriate box. You'll be voting individually, but we'll collect those. The clerk will call those out, and we will report your votes here. We'll do a reveal of the votes on the board that's now set up over here.
And these are not rated votes. We don't rate them as our number one choice or number two choice. We're just selecting two people. So please cast your votes. You can turn the votes over. Let's send them down to the city clerk. And again, good luck to all the candidates.
Mayor Lingle has voted for Janelle Osborne and Daryl Tullis. Councilmember Holmdahl has voted for James Mosby and Janelle Osborne. Councilmember Vega has voted for John Fregosa and James Mosby. A single vote. Councilmember Starbuck has voted for James Mosby.
Wrong. Mr. City Administrator, I believe you put it on, yeah. You want?
I'm sorry, thank you.
Okay, we have no option for public comment at this point. Okay, so we have one candidate that has received 3 votes. That means a council member can make a motion with a second. We will then vote on that candidate.
Mr. Mayor?
I'm sorry, Mr.
Because of the votes and public comment, I'd like to make the motion that we nominate James Mosby to the council.
Okay.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay, so do we want to, okay, we can use our lights on this one, I believe. Okay, so let's cast our votes. Okay, that passes with the majority 3. Congratulations, Mr. Mosby. We will now have a swearing-in ceremony.
Really easy.
I know. That's okay. And again, I want to thank all the other candidates, thank the public for participating in this. And please stick around for the swearing in.
Here.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, James Ian Mosby,
I, James Ian Mosby,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will support the laws and policies
that I will support the laws and the policies
of the City of Lompoc,
of the City of Lompoc,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We're going to adjourn.
I wasn't prepared for a statement here, but I'll be short on it and such. I know it was a process. It's not the perfect process, and I will try to do my best to sit in that chair and continue moving our community forward and work with everybody in our community in advancing Lompoc to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, we will open it up for public comment for another 2 minutes. Anyone wishes to say anything?
My name is Janet Blevins. I'm a 28-year resident of Lompoc. I believe there's a conflict of interest with the appointment with one of the sitting council members, who my understanding is a tenant of Mr. Mosby, and I would like some clarification from the city attorney.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, yes.
If there's a sitting council member who is a tenant of Mr. Mosby.
Who nominated Mr. Mosby for the vacancy.
If I might, the assistant city attorney doesn't have the benefit of the fact we've already posed this question to the city attorney, so I can report on behalf of the city attorney what the city attorney's response was, and that there was no legal, it didn't constitute a conflict of interest in the legal sense. We understand there may have been a perceptional issue, but there was no legal conflict of interest.
If I could just expand on that just a little bit, just on the reason for why there is no conflict of interest, and it's because a tenant, if the council member who nominated Mr. Mosby was a source of if Mr. Mosby was a source of income of the council member who nominated Mr. Mosby, that would be a conflict of interest. But since he's a tenant, he is not a source. Mr. Mosby is not a source of income for the tenant.
Except that if Mr. Mosby decided to no longer allow him to be a tenant, there's a potential there. Or if Mr. Mosby said, because you're my tenant, I control what you do with this property, and you don't have the same kind of freedom that you would have had with this property if you had a different landlord.
It's not the type of economic conflict that the Political Reform Act is concerned about.
Well, it's and this is the problem that former Mayor Lynn brought up too. It is the idea, sometimes the appearance of impropriety is every bit as important as the actual commitment of an improper act. And I think in this case, that is exactly what we're looking at. The voters of Lompoc, in very, very broad numbers, voted for a new mayor and believed that they were voting for a new direction. And no disrespect to Mr. Mosby, who has earned this through his through this process, is very, very, very closely related in operational sense to the former administration. And so now we're right back where we started from, whether the Mr. Lynn is actually sitting on the council or not. Mr. Mosby is, in effect, Mr. Lynn now on the council.
Thank you, Ms. Blevins. Anyone else for public comment on this process?
Yeah, Steve Chidova. I would like to thank everybody for coming out. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Mosby. I haven't met you personally, but I'd like to congratulate you on running for office. Like I said before, running for office is tough, and coming up and saying it is even tougher. But I do wish you the best of luck in the next 2 years. hopefully the council and yourself will start to shape the city to progressively go forward with a lot of things. Also, I will see for Mr. Mosby to still keep in mind the 18 to 35-year-olds like myself. We are, like what Mr. Tillis has said, we are the future of Lompoc. We will like to see what you guys will come up with in the next 2 years. I will be watching closely with everyone else. And I'd just like to wish you the best of luck, Mr. Mosley. Thank you. Or Council Member Mosley. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shadoba. Anyone else for public comment on this process? Okay. Madam Clerk, do we have any written communications?
No, sir.
Okay. This is oral communications, different than that. Oral communications, you can speak to the council on any subject. You have anything with the city? Nothing at all. We're going to close oral communications. Oh, I'm sorry. For 2 minutes.
My name is Jaime Tinoco. I represent IBW 1235. And coming to the City Council meeting, again, I've seen tons of trees down on the streets. And one of the biggest issues we have is the staffing in the tree department, parks department, and I hope that in the future, City Council can do a better job addressing our staffing issues. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? 2 minutes to speak about anything. Okay, seeing no one rise, we are going to adjourn to the regularly scheduled City Council meeting at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, January 6th. Thank you all for participating. Good night. Good evening. Good day.
Good morning.